Hi, everybody, and welcome. You're in another episode in our 3 E's to Optimal Health Using Food as Medicine, our empowerment series. I'm Velan Hawkins, your host, and our special guest today is someone who I'm so excited to introduce to you. And we're going to be in a conversation around mindfulness, stress reduction, and food, all of which lead to boosting your immune system. You know, here at Hippocrates Docs and Just One Thing for Health, we are so committed to bringing the information and the opportunities for you to experiment and find things that help you to stay on your journey to optimal health using food as medicine. And if you suffer from an autoimmune disease, from chronic illness, from obesity, hypertension, diabetes, anything you would like to correct in your health, a lot of ways that you can do it, but underlying this most fortifying is you and with more said when you're sold or you're fasting and I'll take my health any day. And you will do conversation going to be in because it's only 8 months away. It could the same in 10 minutes, depends on what you eat, and the food that you like. So without further ado, stress reduction and food. Nice. Well, you know, one of the things that is so clear to us, especially now that we've come through as much as we've come through with the coronavirus, mindfulness around being at home for hours at end, mindfulness around who we're connecting with, how, and who we're not connecting with. And so tell everyone a little bit about your background, what you do and who you are, and then let's continue on into the conversation.
Okay, my name is Sara Grossman, and I am a healthy lifestyle advocate, a 500-hour Yoga Alliance registered yoga teacher, and a certified facilitator of the My Health, My Priority program. And I love educating people on making healthy lifestyle changes. Usually people who come to me are either struggling with an injury or some type of chronic, most people have some type of chronic disease or pain that they're working with. And through yoga, we seek a reversal in the pain, but the pain can be on an emotional or a reflection of emotional pain as well and suffering. And I've also found that can influence what we eat and vice versa. So the chronic pain that you touched on in terms of hypertension, high blood pressure, obesity, all the myriad of ways people can have chronic disease in their body, that is influenced by what we eat. And in yoga, we call it the food body. We call this physical body the food body. You are what you eat. So you could drink colas, you could drink sodas that in order to neutralize the phosphorus within them, we leach calcium from the bones, creating weak bones, prone to breakage, osteoporosis, arthritis, things like that. Or we can do the opposite, fortify them naturally with almonds, with sesame, with sunflower seeds, with dark leafy greens. We have options there, but using food as medicine to build us up, restore us, or vice versa. So the yoga and food as medicine kind of go hand in hand in my world. That's why I am here. I try to practice what I preach in all areas of my life. Yoga has been such a healing modality to me and helped me to be present within my own skin, my own body, process whatever feelings, emotional, physical pain and life events and get through them with breath. And food, on the other hand, this program, the My Health, My Priority program, has helped me move into health and well-being and clear up some of the issues, chronic issues that I was dealing with. So pass it
That's
on.
a great segue into the question that I was going to ask you was, tell us your story. How did you get involved in yoga? How is it that you've amassed such great knowledge around yoga and mindfulness and the food connection?
Oh my goodness. I got introduced to yoga when I was like 12 or 13, going to the India Center in Cleveland, Ohio. And I remember meditating for an hour, hours there, but, an hour at a time. That's what sticks out in my mind the most was the meditation. And I remember them, just ringing a bell and you would just meditate. It was kind of like old, dingy, stained carpets, and you would just, nothing fancy, just a little carpeted room, and we'd all sit there for an hour. And whether or not you could hear the traffic go by or felt like running out screaming, having that community to stay accountable to that practice, having that what we call a sangha, a community to support just people to be accountable to in that room who are there for the same purpose of clearing our mind, just focus on the breath. And an hour later, sometimes it felt like 10 hours, sometimes it felt like 10 minutes, depending how far along I was, how present I was. An hour later, a bell would ring, and that was that. We did other forms of meditation. Yoga and meditation are one and the same. And it is one of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. Dharana is focus or attention, which leads us to dhyana, these are the 3 internal limbs, which is meditation. And that leads us to samadhi, divine absorption, and all those different levels of it. But those are just 3 facets. And like I say, yoga and meditation, one and the same. I wasn't able to meditate, from 13 on. And I got away from that, I think, early in high school, just going through some stuff. I wasn't really able to still my mind to a point where I could sit and meditate. It was a struggle for me. And my friend, Gabriella, but I call her Gabe, she actually gave me a couple, like a VHS tape, a Rodney Yee tape. That got me started. And I would watch it in the morning for energy and balance. And I swear that got me through high school. And then I ended up adding on to that Patricia Walden restorative at night to go to sleep. So they helped me just deal with day-to-day stuff, and I saw how crucial they were, and that was the closest way that I could get to meditation at that point. And throughout the years, that has been my life. I mean, I've studied with various teachers all along the West Coast, and now here in South Florida. And Anna Forrest has had a great impact on my life. Studied with her on the West Coast, Nancy Ivy, several different really important teachers. And then on here in South Florida with Philip Christodoulou of Anatara Yoga, and some other teachers here that have had a big impact on my practice, on my life. Corbin Stacy.
Awesome. And how did the food kind of integrate into it all?
Well, for ethical reasons and separate from yoga and meditation, or maybe as a part of that, just expanding consciousness and sensitivity, because it was around the same time that I started meditating, actually. I was hanging out in a waiting room, and I picked up a PETA pamphlet, and it just blew my mind. It opened my mind to all the animal abuse with factory farming, and with specifically, I think it was chickens strung up. I don't know if it was specifically KFC, but the fast food industry and their abuse of animals and slaughter of them in really inhumane ways. And it affected me to a point I became vegetarian at 13. But I didn't have any idea that the dairy industry was responsible for all these atrocities. I just didn't know. I was ignorant to a lot. And fast forward, you know, I had an interest in it for health and for ethical reasons, but it was almost too hard, I thought, for me to give up dairy, for me to look at all these ingredients. It was like impossible for me to even fathom doing that. So through my yoga practice, I actually made that commitment as a part of one of the teacher trainings to basically, I was able to substitute bad habits for good ones. And through yoga, that is really what helped empower me to get through feelings without reaching out for, you know, ice cream or soda or a cigarette or any other substance or person or thing, really just to stay present and move through life and using the breath as a vehicle. So yoga definitely influenced that, and it helped me make that commitment to becoming vegan. And then after I was introduced to the My Health, My Priority program and had those little seeds planted of going whole food, plant-based entirely, I will say I realized how much of a junk food vegan I had been. I had no idea. I was eating so much processed foods, you know, Oreos are vegan, but they are not healthy. And just things that you don't know, and things that you don't know. Over time, surrounding myself with those practices and with that information, it just fell into my lap, and I started to understand more and change as a result.
Awesome. And I know you and I have had several conversations about that being one of the reasons you want to be a facilitator of the program so much, because of the impact that this knowledge has had on you. And you're right. And that type of mindfulness, I believe that we're part of a collective consciousness. And in the mindfulness of how it is that we treat ourselves because of what we've learned, we can help others to come into that space as well. And, you know, I do also believe that we were not put here to suffer. And so when we do, it's up to us to start looking for ways out. And I love that for some, yoga has been introduced to them later in life, and they found, you know, the magic of it because of that. But let's take a moment and actually talk about how yoga can have such an impact in helping people to manage stress, which we all know, well, not maybe not all of us, but a lot of us know that stress is a major contributor to a lot of chronic illnesses. And so let's talk about yoga and stress.
Okay. Yoga quiets the mind. This is in the Yoga Sutras. Patanjali's, I should have brought that book with me. In the Yoga Sutras, it says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga quiets the mind. This is through a single pointed focus, allowing all other mental modifications to subside. So instead of getting caught up in the neuroses and the stress in the vortexes of the mind, and he defines all 5 of them, in distractions, in the media, in other people's stress, we can even, there are things that cause inflammation. One is stress, another is food. So they, like I say, hand in hand. But yoga quiets the mind, and it quiets the entire central nervous system. The mind, the head is not chopped up and, you know, hanging from a string. Entire spinal column, from it, we have a vast, extensive network of neuromyofascial sheaths that go all the way out into our very sensitive, delicate fingertips, where we can read Braille, feel on a cellular, molecular level if we are attuned. And through just something as simple, like I say, meditation and yoga, one and the same, as focusing on the breath, that allows our blood pressure to come down. It quiets the mind, just allows those thoughts and mental chatter to settle. It might not feel like it if you're new in meditation. I will tell you that. You might think that you just have like, it's gone worse. We're just becoming aware, really. And eventually it does settle down. And like I say, it can lower the heart rate. I go into the doctor and he's just so impressed. Whenever I go in for a checkup, my blood pressure is so low. You know, he's recommending other people go to yoga as a result, just because he knows this is why. It's just the breath. That's the main thing, in terms of quieting the mind, in terms of dealing with stress. But I will say that there are physical asanas, different poses, besides just the seated. This is just sitting comfortably, and each seat in yoga is steady and comfortable. So if you're sitting cross-legged, hands in a bowl on the lap, chin tucked slightly with the tall spine, that is called Sukhasana. And it just means a steady and comfortable seated position. But each pose must be steady and comfortable. So you don't want to be stressing yourself out when you're in a yoga pose, and you stop doing yoga. You're thinking about that, you're torturing yourself. Like you said, you're suffering. That's not the point. The point is to find a steady and comfortable pose. And for some of us, that means modifying, working with disabilities, working with injuries, maybe just seated or laying down or in a chair. There are different ways. In any way, shape, or form, yoga is accessible, like you had mentioned, for all ages. And to get those benefits of, like I say, quieting the mind and bringing us some stress relief. Even just if you can just get one moment of stillness, of silence, of peace, that might be enough to just shift your whole perspective for the rest of the day. Maybe some things that were bothering you, bugging you, you might just let them drift by the wayside. Or maybe you start to notice the butterflies going by, stopping to smell the roses, just the shift in perspective.
That is so good, because we do move so quickly most of the time. And I think that, we have to take the time to sit back and really understand the unfortunate things that have come out of the coronavirus. And on the flip side, the things that we can look at as fortunate, like slowing down for a moment. To think about, after 30 years, people in India can see the Himalayan mountains now, after just 3 weeks of being shut down. And Los Angeles, they're reporting that, the smog isn't there. And I mean, we already see the benefits to not just ourselves personally, if we've gone within and reinforced relationships with family members, and just done things that we consistently put off because we had this excuse that we were too busy, doing too much, moving too fast. Now we had the time to do. And one of the things that I'm really proud of you for doing, having slowed down, and this actually was before things slowed down for you, you planted a garden. Talk to us about what that really did for you, meant to you, means to you, to see it growing and yielding harvest for you.
On so many levels, this is something that's very special to me. Just the physical practice of watering the good seeds that I've planted in fertile soil, that I have, as a result of composting, taking whatever vegetable matter, whatever yard waste I have, and putting it in the compost bin and preparing that, getting out any rocks, any weeds, any thorns, anything, trimming things back that need to be trimmed back to make room for some sun. And then on a daily basis, this is like my baby. I have to water, I have to, I might not get all the little weeds, but once they start choking them out, once I can recognize it, that's when I start going in there and pruning or weeding and separating so that they have space. I have all these, my friend Jamie Thomas. Hey Jamie, I love you if you're out there watching. She sent me a box of lemons from her tree, a big box. And they were the most wonderful, from her family's tree, this wonderful, like, sweet lemons. And so I took the seeds, after I made a bunch of lemonade or started drinking lemon juice every morning, a little bit to alkalize my system. I would take all of the seeds and started planting them. And then I separated them, and now I'll give them to people if somebody stops by, from a little social distance, give them a little lemon tree, because, what am I going to do with however many seeds come out of a box of lemons, all those trees. But just watching that grow, sharing that with others, that bounty, and being able to kind of Johnny Appleseed that and watch things that I've intentionally planted grow is so fulfilling. Not only that, but it's nourishing, because if I need some greens in my smoothie, I can go out back and harvest. And it's like reaping what you sow. And it's not always like reaping what you sow, because, I'll pull out some of those radishes or turnips and like the bugs have gotten to them first. This is organic, okay? This is organic soil. And sometimes the bugs get to them first. Same with the greens. You know what? I'm okay with that, and I do my best to mitigate. I'll put some cayenne pepper all around the edge and sometimes within the rows. But, I let them have it. So they're a part of this as well. So
Yes,
I'm not spraying. I'm not using any Miracle Grow. It's a miracle to just watch them grow. And sometimes I'll talk to them. And sometimes I'll sing if I feel like singing. And it's a part of just watching the miracle of life and watching it grow and blossom and the potential and seeing it through, really.
Well, it does make a difference. And we do have the ability. A lot of people will tell themselves, well, I don't have a green thumb. Well, if that's what you're telling yourself, you won't have a green thumb. So how about start telling yourself, I do have a green thumb, and then start believing that, and then see what that actually yields for you. But Sara, as we're winding down here, can you tell our audience if there's just one thing that you would have people to do? We've been talking about mindfulness, stress, and food, and building the immune system. There's just one thing that you might be able to give to our audience as a challenge for them to do. What might that be?
That would be 100%. If you can take 5 minutes, or if you can take 5 breaths, and you could focus on the breath in your own way. You could focus on a mantra. You could focus on something at your heart center, an intention, an awareness, or you can count. And if your mind is just going, you're just starting, just to quiet the mind, keeping it simple, count in for 5 breaths, for 5 counts. Breathe in through the nose. And for 5, breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe in for 5 through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. And out through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue in through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. And out through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. In through the nose. You might notice your breath slowing down a little. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5, and try this. Same breath with left hand on heart center, right hand on the belly. Just pay attention to the rise and fall of the belly and the rib cage. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you notice your heartbeat. Maybe you feel it quieting, slowing down. 3, 4, 5. You can stop counting. Just focus on sensation, on your quality of breath. And the default yogic breath is in through the nose and out through the nose. Just continue your own breath. And it is called Ujjayi. Ujjayi pranayama literally means, in Sanskrit, victorious, uprising, life force extension breath. So powerful word for breath or spirit, just connecting with something so powerful within us and without that connects us all. We can do that in a moment, 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you have it. That's what I would, more than anything else, that's my number one thing. Stay with the breath.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's a great challenge. And I look forward to doing that one myself as well. And thank you, Sara, for bringing all of this great information and your story to us today. We really appreciate that.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me and for asking me to listen to this conversation.
Absolutely. And to our
with this movement. So thank you for including me in this dialogue.
For sure. And I'm sure that we will be hearing more from Sara. As she mentioned, she is one of our certified My Health, My Priority facilitators, and she's going to be starting a program soon. So check the website. And if you don't know the website, it's hippocratesdocs.com. And even more than that, if you want to have some additional information on your journey to optimal health, try the Just One Thing for Health challenge. You can get a free subscription to the email challenge. Once a week, you get an email that says, here's your challenge, do it. There's lots of additional information to help support the challenge, and you will become the better for it. A lot of links to the scientific data that backs this information, proving that food is the solution, the right food is the solution. And then please go to Facebook, Just One Thing for Health, like our Facebook page, join us in the conversation. If you've got a story to tell about using food as your medicine and being a whole food plant-based, living a whole food plant-based lifestyle, let me know. We'd love to share your story with the world and help you share your story with the world. And last, if you're on YouTube, find us on YouTube, Hippocrates Docs, or you can search for Just One Thing for Health, and we will come up. Subscribe to the Hippocrates Docs channel, and you'll see even more. Thank you for joining us today. It has been a pleasure bringing this information to you. I'm so excited about having Sara as part of our team and helping her to reach more people by doing more like this. So if you want more stuff around yoga, if you want more information around cancer survival, if you want more information about how to break those habits, the Just One Thing for Health program, the email series is a great way to get started. If you need something that's more hands-on, that's a small group, interactive, powerful, educational and cognitive behavioral curriculum, then check out the My Health, My Priority program and check out Sara's next group and join her. Recommend her to your friends. We would love to see you there with us. Thanks for joining us today. From our hearts to yours, have a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.